watch. Ahoy there!
Ahoy there! We're hoisting the Blue Peter flag. Do you remember what that means? It means this ship is about to leave the harbour. So all watch viewers should report on board. The programme is about to begin.
Last week, we showed you how Captain Cook loaded up the Endeavour and set off on his voyage. Now then, where was he going? Well, let's have a look at the globe. He sailed down the South Atlantic and round this point at the bottom and up into the South Pacific. And just look how big the Pacific is. It's enormous, isn't it? And right in the middle is this tiny island here called Tahiti. And that is what Cook was looking for. When you're far out at sea, there aren't any landmarks to help tell you where you are. One bit of the ocean looks much the same as another, and all you can see is water and sky. So how did Cook know that he was steering in the right direction? Well, he had lots of things to help him, but one of the most useful was the compass.
I expect some of you have got a compass, a little pocket compass like this one. If you have a look at it, you'll see that it has a needle inside it. That's the thing that's wobbling about. Now, the point about compasses is that if you hold them steady, the needles always end up pointing in the same direction. I've got several more here, and if I line them up, you'll see all the needles will end up pointing in the same way, towards the north.
You could make a compass of your own. They're quite magical, really, and great fun, but they're better than magic because they have a very useful purpose. Okay, you need a bowl of water and something that floats, but it mustn't be metal. That's very important. I'm using the bottom of a polystyrene cup. In it goes. And you need a nail or a needle. I'm going to use a nail. This is how you make the compass. If I pop the nail on my floater, well, nothing very interesting happens. It just points in any old direction. But if I magnetize the nail, it's a different story. To magnetize something, you need, of course, a magnet. And you stroke it a few times in the same direction. Now, that's very important, because if you don't stroke it in the same direction, it doesn't work. Well, that should be enough. Let's see what happens this time. On goes the nail. It's beginning to move round. Round it goes, stopping and coming back again, and it comes to rest, pointing in the same direction as the pocket compass is, to the north. And if I move it back, it makes no difference. It'll still come back to point in the same direction. Because now it's magnetized, it knows exactly in which direction it wants to point. Now, here's a little hint. If you want your compass to work well, make sure that the water is nice and calm, and don't have the compass anywhere near any big metal objects, and especially nowhere near a magnet. Because if you get your magnet close to the compass, very strange things begin to happen. It doesn't know what it wants to do.
A compass is just one of the things that a ship's captain has to help him find his way round the seas. But without it, he'd be lost. Without his compass, Cook would never have been able to steer his ship in the right direction, and the crew of the Endeavour would never have sighted the island they were aiming for. Tahiti. It was a very exciting moment. The journey from England had taken over 7 months, and like all sailors, they were looking forward to going ashore after a long voyage. The people who lived on the island were friendly to Cook and his men, and soon they were exchanging goods and trading. As they didn't speak each other's language, they had to use sign language for much of the time.
Yes. Three. Give me the papaya. One. 2.
After a few days, the chief of the island gave a great feast for the Englishmen. After all the sauerkraut they'd been eating, the fresh food was very welcome. Tahiti was full of strange sights and experiences, and the crew were particularly interested to see an islander being tattooed. It was very common for Tahiti people to decorate their bodies in this way, and it was a custom that many of our sailors have copied since. Back in the ship, Cook himself was more interested in charts than tattooing. A chart is like a map of the sea. Whenever Cook reached a new piece of land, his job was to make a chart of what he had found. This would make it easier and safer for ships that visited the same places in the future.
Stamina filamentis in unum corpus.
Meanwhile, the scientists had been collecting plants and flowers. They made a careful note of what they had found, and either made drawings of the flowers or pressed them flat in a press. Now, why do you think they pressed the flowers? It was to preserve them so that they could take back the flowers and plants to the people in Britain and show them. If you press flowers flat, they don't wither away. And I can prove that because here, in the British Museum, we have the actual plants that Captain Cook brought back from Tahiti. These are over 200 years old, which is quite amazing. See how clear and well preserved the leaves are. And here, we have a flower. There it is. It's faded now, but I would imagine it was red. Beautifully preserved. As well as bringing back the actual plants, Cook had pictures made of them. If they'd had cameras with them, they would probably have taken photos of the plants instead, because photos are much quicker. But the paintings are beautifully done and very accurate. The scientists were also keen to collect as many animals as possible, and they were particularly interested in the fishes.
Colour blue-grey. 2 parallel blue lines outlining a yellowish throat. Mouth outlined in blue. Yes. Gill slits rather small.
As with the plants, they made a careful note of what they found and drew pictures of them. As well as painting pictures of the fishes, they also brought back actual specimens. Here, for example, is a picture of something called a bubba fish. And over here is the actual bubba fish that they caught in this bottle. To preserve it, they didn't press it like a plant, but they pickled it in a special liquid, rather like you preserve sauerkraut. Ooh, let's get him out and have a look at him. Out he comes. Whoops. There. Look at that. 200 years old and in perfect condition. The colour's faded a bit, but that doesn't matter too much, because if we want to know what the colour was like, we can always look at the pictures they brought back. They're lovely, aren't they? And the detail is so good that you almost expect them to start swimming. Whenever Cook and his men reached land, they would do a survey of the area. And as you can see, they made a very good job of it. And that's something that you can do. You don't have to go to Tahiti. You can actually explore your own school grounds.
Right. That's more than
This class began by collecting as many different leaves and plants as possible.
Should try and identify them. What do you think they all are?
Wish I could go off and see them. That might be it.
Will you go off and find some more then, Ben?
Some children did bark rubbings.
It's not too bad because I haven't done it for a long time yet, have I?
Richard, Ben and Rupert did a survey of all the trees in the playground. They marked them on a map with circles of coloured paper.
Is it? There's one there. And then we might have one about here, aren't we?
They used red circles for the sycamore trees and black circles for the chestnuts.
Harriet, come on.
Like Cook's scientists, they were also looking for animals. And Marco and Harriet spotted some of the caretaker's cats. Ned found a spider in the flower bed. And as usual, there were lots of creatures to be found under stones and bricks.
Looks horrible, doesn't he? Yeah.
Like Cook's scientists, they pressed the flowers and leaves they found. They laid them on blotting paper and then placed a sheet of corrugated cardboard above and below. Then they folded over the book cover and placed weights on top to press the plants flat. When Captain Cook and the scientists had found all their plants and done all their drawings, they returned to the ship to make a proper record of them. And that's what the children here have been doing. Also, they've turned their classroom into a ship. Let's go and have a look. There's the sail and the ship's mast and some rope rigging with flags on. Oh, and over here, there's the ship's cannon. These are cannonballs down here. And I think this gun is made of a carpet cylinder, isn't it?
Yes.
And does it fire?
Yes.
Can you show me?
No!
And over here, we have a Captain Cook sea chest. Let's have a look inside. Ah. Hats. I think I shall wear this one. Fits very nicely. And up on the deck here, we have the steering wheel. And behind the steering wheel, the red ensign. And last but not least is the children's survey by Lower C. That's your class, isn't it? Yes. Let's have a look inside. Ah! Bark rubbings. Sycamore tree, plane tree. Lots of different trees. What's next? Ah, the animals. Animals which we spotted around the school. Let's see, what did you spot? Marco and Harriet spotted 3 cats. And Ned picked up this spider. Picked it up. Gosh, it's brave. Smashing. We collected lots of leaves. Did you press them?
Yes.
Well, I think you've done a grand job. It's very shipshape. Shall we celebrate?
Yes.
Every day at about noon, the sailors on board ships would be given a tot of rum to cheer themselves up. It was called splicing the main brace. I'm afraid we don't have any rum, So instead, we're going to splice the main brace with a tot of orange juice. Oh, thank you. Ah, ship's biscuit, eh? Right. Now, who should we drink to? Shall we drink to Captain Cook?
Yes.
Yes? All right, then, here we go. To
Captain Cook!
To Captain Cook. Next week, we'll be travelling on still further with Cook and see what happened to him when he got to Australia. But now, it's time to finish with our Captain Cook song and hoist up our closing flag, which means our vessel has stopped and is making no headway. So the good ship watch has